Welcome to another episode of podcast reinforcement. That's not what it's called at all. It's called positive reinforcement. This is why you don't record a podcast at midnight, people. Especially when you have to wake up early the next day. But here we are, nonetheless. And I'm recording my podcast for the week for the Dallas Fuel Homestand. I'm traveling to Dallas on Thursday morning. It's going to be a great event. It's sold out. I'm so excited. So hyped. But there's some Overwatch to talk, right? We got 2 days coming up. And I want to talk to you all about the games and the teams. We're getting closer to Stage 2 playoffs as well. So we've started to assess some new teams this stage with, I'm not going to say a new meta because it's predominantly still gold. Still triple tank, triple support. We see some Brigitte play, we see some Baptiste play, we see some triple DPS play, so it's good to see a few teams shake things up anyway. So I'm gonna talk a bit about it. On is it episode 9? Yeah, I think it's episode 9. Soon double digits. We've come such a long way. I'm so happy for myself and all my listeners. But anyway, we're gonna get into this podcast. I was really inspired to start recording this podcast because I was watching all the playoff sport. I was watching hockey. I watched San Jose Sharks with an amazing comeback against the Vegas Golden Knights. Playoff hockey is really cool to watch. Like, it's really good. Like, Swedish hockey is amazing. It might not be as good quality as NHL, but still, when it's playoff hockey, I mean, that's really good. And that was an amazing game. So I don't care if you're not a fan of hockey. I talked about it anyway, because that was just an amazing game. And I do recommend people to watch it if they're, into hockey. Anyway, and yes, there was the amazing Portland OKC game as well, which was so back and forth. And I just like, okay, well, OKC is going to win it because they're on like a 26 or 2-4 run or something, And then Damian Lillard just comes back and he just hits the most ridiculous three. And then I watched NBA on TNT, and I watched that desk, and that just made me all kinds of excited. Watching those 4 guys have just insane amounts of fun. I mean, that's entertainment. Like, it's analysis, sure. Like, they know their stuff, but that's like top tier entertainment, most of all. And I just genuinely love everything about it. I really love it, and so I had the most amazing time watching that. And then I watched the World Cup desk. And now I decided to record a podcast. So that was my 3-minute recap of what I've been doing this Wednesday. No, it's Tuesday. Tuesday evening. If you'd like to know, I also washed my clothes and folded them. But now we're getting into Overwatch. Sorry, I had to talk some real sports first. Because I'm just so damn excited about playoff sports. It's so good. So exciting. Anyway, let's talk about some Overwatch. Yeah, there's a couple of teams I want to talk about here. I have my power rankings coming out this week. And some of you guys might get a bit of a shock. Because we're not going to talk about Spark. We are going to talk about Spark, rather. We're not going to talk about Shock. We're going to talk about Spark. Because Hangzhou Spark, I'm bullish on these guys. And you guys will be like, oh my god, how can you be bullish on the Hangzhou Spark? Well, listen, alright? They did get beat 4-0. By San Francisco in week 3. And they went to map 5 against the Guangzhou Charge, who was on like an 8-match losing streak or something. I'm just making that number up. They were on a long losing streak. They were like competing with the Shanghai Dragons for like one of their longest losing records. They were a bad team, okay? And they went to map 5, and they got swept by the San Francisco Shock. But I'm bullish on the Hangzhou Spark, and they're going to be in my top 10. So this is a warning for y'all. This is a warning before my power rankings come out that they're going to be there, and they're there for good reason. I think that the only reason they went to map 5 against the Guangzhou Charge was because Eileen played Doomfist. And there was some bad preparation coming out from Hangzhou Spark. I don't know why they just didn't go Sombra. And they just didn't play more Winston. I was honestly really disappointed. I don't understand some of these teams. Like, some of these teams in the league are so bad at adapting on the fly. And it just hurts my brain because honestly, it's so easy to spot counters in game. And sure, maybe you haven't practiced it, but you've played so much ranked that you should be able to counter some of these compositions you're playing against. And they just don't do it. And so, Hangzhou Spark, I am disappointed in the fact that you didn't play more Sombra to shut down Eileen. But I mean, at the end of the day, the only reason they went to map 5, in my opinion, was because they didn't play that Sombra. And that's an easy fix. You know, you play it against Doomfist again, you pull out the Sombra, and you sort it out, and you fix it, and then you're better. They beat the Boston Uprising in week 2. Went to map 5. But that's a map 5 against the Boston Uprising, who are really good in map 5s. And the Boston Uprising, who's so mentally strong, and they managed to overcome them. A lot of it comes down to IDK. He had a couple of nice boops. He ended up winning the game for them. Sure. Yeah. Maybe not the strongest performance. But if you win against the Boston Uprising, do you deserve to be in the top 10? Could make a strong argument for it. So that win, coupled with their wins in... no, they didn't win in week 1. Yeah, they got swept in week 1 versus Vancouver Titans. Coupled with their win against the Guangzhou Charge. And then they did get swept against the San Francisco Shock again. But they looked really good in that series. That was a close series, okay? Or, I don't know if close is the way to go about it. But still, it was competitive. They put on a really good show, especially on Paris. Eichenwald, not so much. Li Jiang, yeah, I'd say, yeah, Li Jiang was good. Paris was good. Then we went into halftime, and San Francisco Shock and Krusty were like, I'm sorry. We're just going to end this. We want to go home. But they showed a lot of improvement in that series. And so, with a lot of the number 8 to number 14 teams a bit struggling in the mid-table, I'm going with the Hangzhou Spark for the number 10 spot. So that's just a bit of a heads up for all of you guys. You don't have to be so heated on social media if you don't agree with it. But I have pretty good reasoning for this. And I do think, especially according to the eye test, that Hangzhou Spark are really looking like they're starting to improve. And the way they played the tempo when Gushue was on the Winston, and just the back and forth, the way they controlled the tempo versus San Francisco Shock was a thing of beauty. I think if you go back to Paris and watch that like 2.5 minute fight on point A, that was the best team fight in the league this year. And I would honestly even argue that it can be like the best team fight I've ever seen in Overwatch. Because that was 2.5 minutes of back and forth, like non-stop. Maybe a few people died, but then they came back because the fight was so long. But no one outright lost. And that was incredible to watch. Not only from the San Francisco Shock, but also from the Hangzhou Spark. And some of it had to do with the fact that Sinatra was on Sombra. San Francisco didn't play Zarya, so they didn't have the same amount of frontline pressure. With the fully charged Zarya just hammering on Gushue and Rhea. But even despite that, I think it was really impressive from the Hangzhou Spark. And so seeing them win 2 map 5s and then at least putting up a pretty good fight against San Francisco Shock, I think this is a team I'm bullish on. So I'm just letting you guys know in advance. This is the team I like. This is the team I like. I'm going to take a sip of tea. I need some good tea after that. And yes, they do have pink jerseys, which is pretty badass. They don't have the best map differential because they got swept against Vancouver and San Francisco. But hey, what are you gonna do about it? They're playing the Chengdu Hunters and they're playing the Paris Eternal at the Dallas Homestand. I would expect a 2-0 if, and only if, they play the goddamn counters against the Chengdu Hunters. They have to play the Winston. They have to play the Sombra, Brig, and the Lucio Moira. They have to play the composition that the LA Gladiators showed in week 3. They have to play the counter that has been demonstrated by Shanghai Dragons and the LA Gladiators against the Chengdu Hunters. They need to play the counter comp. And if they don't do that, I don't know. Who's the coach of Hangzhou Spark? I mean, if you don't play that composition against them, you should lose your job. Not even kidding. Head coach Mask Muho Lee, X6 gaming coach. okay, Mask, Mr. Muho Lee, you better play this freaking counter DPS composition. Because that's how you win against the Chengdu Hunters. You better do this. Please do this. And then you play the Paris Eternal, who, you know, there's an argument. Oop, scratchies. I'm sorry for that. There's an argument that could be made that Paris is like a 11-12 kind of team, you know, and pretty close with the Hangzhou Spark. But I still believe in the Hangzhou Spark. I mean, the only way Paris Eternal, in my mind, walks away with that series if you outskill Hangzhou. But I think Hangzhou has the better tank line. And I'm a bit unsure about the back line. I do think Paris maybe has a better DPS line, especially if they pull out triple DPS with Shadowburn. Temple of Anubis is GOATs though. That's going to be even. Lijiang Tower, if Shadowburn pops off on Lijiang Tower on the Garden stage, I mean, I'm almost leaning Paris Eternal here. Junkertown, who has the better Widowmaker? It's Batsy, right? Or Buzzy. Maybe we see Danya play on Junkertown. Eichenwald, I sort of want the Hangzhou Spark to go the Winston Ghost composition with all the high ground, especially on points B. They didn't cap point A against San Francisco. Not a good sign at all, but it is San Francisco. Paris Eternal has a pretty good map pool here. I think this map pool leans Paris Eternal, but I'm hoping that Hangzhou Spark wins. Not because I'm a fan of them or anything, but I just hope that they win, because that would verify my belief that this is a team that is steadily improving. And then they have a matchup against Seoul Dynasty May 5th in week 5, which I don't think they're going to win. But if they get those 2 wins, then they should be in the stage 2 playoffs with a 4-3 record. So we'll see what happens with this team. Monty talks about, he mentioned the nerves. I could see them getting over that. I don't think that they're as individually skilled as some people make them out to be. But I still, for some reason, believe in this team quite a lot. Anyway, so I'm hoping we see some good stuff from them the rest of this stage. I really do. I really do. I definitely see the potential anyway. Let's talk about something else other than the pink team with the amazing Winston player. Who should we talk about? Shanghai Dragons? Yeah, we can spend some time on Shanghai Dragons. Ding and DM looking as amazing as ever. I think Sideshow was right in that Ding and DM could be one of the best DPS duos in the league. They're not that right now. They're not going to be the best DPS duo in stage 2. They are not going to be the best DPS duo in stage 3. But once we get around to stage 4, they could, if they improve over time, they could start making a case for it. Because bear in mind, it's DPS duo, right? I mean, Carpe is insane. EQO is really, really good. Actually, they probably won't be the best DPS duo. Like, with Sideshow, when did you put the deadline on, like, the best DPS duo in the league? When did you put this deadline? Like, next year? Come on, dude. No. Prophet is really good. Birdring has some slumps. I do think they can overcome Spitfire's DPS lineup. But there's still all these teams like Vancouver, New York. Like, what's the deadline on this statement you've made, Sideshow? Because I don't think it will happen this year. Maybe next year. And I mean, that's a long-term call, but still. Odd. Very odd, Sideshow. But yes, they have improved a lot. DM and Ding, they look really good. Gamster is a really consistent tank, but I don't know if he's a like top-tier tank. I don't think he'll ever be like a top-tier tank. I just think he'll be like above average main tank. Like, he's just consistent. He's not flashy either. Like, Gamsu yeah, he's just consistent. He gets some shatters once in a while, gets some primal rage kills once in a while. But there's nothing fancy about it. Youngjin can play like a mean Doomfist, but he's not the best player in the world either. I don't like the tank line of the Shanghai Dragons. I'm sorry, I don't. Youngjin. Yeah, Gamsu Youngjin. They have Guardian, I suppose, but apparently he's not as good as I thought he was going into this season. Gregory's saw like a map or two, looked decent, but still, I don't like the front line of the Shanghai Dragons. Luffy is pretty cool, Koma pretty stable, but I don't know. If they want to make like a case for top 4 at some point, I do feel like they have to commit to a better front line, but we'll see. I'm not going to count out improvement because it's not about age or anything. It's just about taking practice seriously and improving. And I could see Gamsu do that. He's just never been a top player, you know. So it's hard to predict how good Gamsu can really be. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe the Dragons will start improving. London Spitfire, I was really positively surprised by Gesture last week. I listened to Oversight and they were like, oh, well, Gesture has never been a bad Reinhardt. And I was like, dude, oh my. Are you like kidding me right now? He was piss poor. He was piss poor in stage 1 of Reinhardt. And now, because I fully admit he looked good on Reinhardt in stage 2. But are you just going to forget about the dumb shit he did in stage 1? And just be like, oh, he's never been a bad Reinhardt. It's like, come on. Shut up, dude. Like, he was really bad in stage 1. And you can't try to push the narrative elsewhere. And you can't try to make yourself out to be some genius saying that he was always bad or always good. Because he wasn't. He wasn't. He's a great Winston, good Orisa, but he wasn't a good Reinhardt. But even I tweeted out on like Saturday that he looked a lot better on Reinhardt. But due to a sample size. I confirmed it with the stats. I compared his stage 1 and his stage 2 Reinhardt stats. And the stats verified my belief that his Reinhardt is better in stage 2. And they haven't had the most difficult of opponents in stage 2. You guys are right. You guys are right. They haven't had the most difficult schedule. But you can still see that he does a lot less unforced errors. And so I think, in that regard anyway, I think he didn't deserve praise, but I think I had to sort of redeem him. Because I was the one who put the bad Reinhardt label on him initially, right? I was the one who drove that narrative. Because I think everyone was just caught in the Gesture hype, and I disagree with it. But I think after seeing him play against some of these teams, I mean, they played Philadelphia Fusion in week 2, and they 4-0 Boston Uprising. I think I had to redeem him a bit, because I have seen this improvement. But that doesn't mean he was good in stage 1, because it definitely wasn't. But they are looking a lot better, especially as a team. But Ocean popped off against Boston Uprising as well. He played really well. Birdring is back to his DPS as well. So, London Spitfire as well. They're looking really good. Still undefeated. Could go undefeated in stage 2, am I right? If I look at the schedule. They play the Chengdu Hunters and they play the Paris Eternal. 2 very winnable games this week in week 4. And then week 5, they play the Houston Outlaws. So yeah, London Spitfire, they could easily go 7-0. And get some weird seeding going into the stage 2 playoffs, and then even make it like semis before they face someone that's truly difficult and they might lose to. So, interesting stage for the London Spitfire. This is really going to help them in the league standings as well. They're 7-4. Let's say they go 10-4. I mean, that's really good for the league standings as well. You want to get some breathing room once you go into like stage 4. And then you don't feel as much pressure in having to perform. And you can also get ready for you can also get ready for the season playoffs without having to stress as much. Didn't really go that well for New York last year, but you know, hey, that's just how it be sometimes. Unlucky, dude. Unlucky. Who else do we want to talk about? Who else do we want to talk about? I'm looking here at some of the teams. The LA Valiant. Do I want to talk about the LA Valiant? They're actually 2-2 this stage. They won 2 of their last 3 games. They beat Washington and Atlanta, which is not that good. They went to map 5 against Atlanta. But that Gladiator series was really close. It was a really close series against the Gladiators. And sure, the Gladiators, they were sort of throwing, especially on Hanamura. Hanamura was a draw, right? Yeah, it was a draw. But still, it definitely looks like the Valiant are improving. KSF is really starting to showcase his Zarya in a way. And he looks a lot better. And when you have a good Zarya, that will definitely help you in the GOATS composition. I still don't like the roster of this team. I still believe you have to make a lot of changes. I don't know why they're holding on so close to all of these players. I get it. Agility is pretty good. Social media presence. Who knows if they wanted to make that trade with Boston Uprising. But like, why are you holding on to all of these middle of the pack kind of underwhelming players? Wouldn't you want to like revitalize your team? You have Isayaki and Space. You want to keep those guys. Want to keep Costa, KSF. But I feel like you need better DPS. KSF looked good on Zarya, but I don't know if he can live up to expectations. On the other heroes, I've heard he has a great Genji, and he has played some Widowmaker. But is this going to revitalize the LA Valiant and make them a top team again? I don't think so. What's the internal situation like? Will Fate ever be friends again with someone of them? Because it sure seems like that the team atmosphere isn't that great within the team. Who knows? I thought Fate was really good last year. But, I mean, this year he's looked bad. But that's also because LA Valiant lost like 9 games in a row or something. So, who knows? I still think they have to do some upgrades and get rid of like a few of these players anyway. Because there's a lot of talent out there. You just gotta be brave. And do your job. And you will definitely get some great players into your team. LA Gladiators, I don't want to talk too long about these guys. I mean, Decay is just an insane beast. That's all I have to say about it. I wish this guy had Twitter, so I could just tweet that. He actually does have Twitter, but he has less than 4,000 followers. I wish this guy, he has 19 tweets, and it's all retweets. Why are Overwatch League players not on social media? Why don't you tweet? What's wrong with you? Make money. Get sponsorships. What's wrong with you? I mean, I guess if the rumors are true, he probably makes enough money already. But still, I mean, come on, dude. You got fans. Be nice to them. Why do you gotta do this, bro? Oh, well. Dallas Fuel. Sitting at 6-5 in our league standings. Sitting at 2-2 in our stage 2 standings. Looking at the schedule, Dallas Fuel has 3 winnable games remaining, I believe. Yes, Valiant, Houston, and Florida. Could easily go 5-2 this stage. Again, I think they went 5-2 in stage 1 as well. No, they went 4-3. No, they went 3-4. They didn't make it. Anyway, they didn't make it. They could make stage 2 playoffs. They should make stage 2 playoffs. Looks better with Note. Looks like teamwork is finally on point. OG is a volatile mess though, and he really needs to step up. He needs to be more consistent because I mean, I love this guy because he has such a high skill ceiling. The peak potential is unreal. Probably the most potential out of any main tank in the league, but sometimes his lows, man. Like, come on, dude, you just can't do that. I read an interview on competitive Overwatch Reddit today that he was like, "Oh, we always lose to the Houston Outlaws, and I want to beat them this time in front of the fans." And I'm just like, that's not the most self-confident thing I've heard in my life. Come on, dude. Like, you're just setting yourself up to choke in that matchup. Come on, OG. Believe in yourself. You're way better than you make yourself out to be. Just go out there and do primal rage some kids, you know? I feel... I read that quote. I read that quote from OG, and suddenly I feel really bad against the Dallas-Houston matchup. And I'm just like, oh boy, here goes the upset. There's no way Dallas Fuel should ever lose that series. But, I mean, if... I don't know. They're so inconsistent. They look so good at times and so bad at times. The crowd, people are going to be like, oh, the crowd is in their favor. And it's like, well, if you're not good at handling a crowd to begin with, there's going to be a lot of pressure on you to perform in front of your own sold out crowd, you know, whether they're on your side or the opponents. I always, when I was a player, I always preferred to like play with the fans against me. I like being the underdog. I like shutting people up. Like the 2017 World Cup, when we played Australia in that arena and I shut everyone up, that was the greatest feeling ever. I don't know. I love you Aussie fans. That was hands down like one of the best Overwatch events ever. And that crowd was probably the best crowd I've ever played in front of. But there was something to it. Just being able to shut all the Aussies down and beat them. So, I don't know. If you're in an arena, sold out arena, and all the fans are cheering for you and you drop a map, are you going to mentally be able to turn that around? We'll see. We'll see. I'm not feeling too good about that matchup though. Upset alert. Upset alert. We're not going to talk about Houston Outlaws. I'm sorry, we're not going there. They're probably the worst team in the league right now. They're probably worse than Washington and Florida. I want to see Houston. Wait, are these teams playing each other at some point? I want to see a bottom clash with all of these bad teams. Houston Guangzhou could be pretty fun. Stage 3. When are these bad teams playing each other? Houston, Washington, Friday, June 28th. Mark your calendars. Houston, Florida, June 23rd. Oh my god, they play each other in a span of 5 days. This is going to be amazing. Holy crap. I can't wait. That's going to be awesome. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's going to be great. I have a weak spot for watching bad teams play. Because there's just so much like pressure in those matchups. Like if you're on the worst team in the league and you're like, oh, we play the second worst team in the league, we have to win this one. This is our only chance at proving we're not the worst team in the league. There's so much pressure in that one. And because they're not the greatest players ever, there's just so many unforced errors. And it's like a competition who can throw the hardest. And it's just so entertaining to watch because it's so tense. And like some people might not be able to buy into that sympathy or empathy. I don't know which one it is. But that's honestly, as a player, that's so tense. That's so insane. I just kind of love watching these trash teams play each other. There's something about it. There's something about it I can't explain. Anyway, that's I think that's all I have for this week. Chengdu Hunters, they're figured out by the way. But I think that's all I have for this week. Gonna keep it to a solid 30-minute podcast. If you want to hear more of me, stay tuned. I decided to record from my living room this time because it's a lot easier. Not my living room, it's my bedroom, my PC room. Anyway, But yeah, I'm gonna be putting out more of these to come. I've been really busy at work as of recent. So that's why they haven't been coming out. But I just put these together once I feel like it, when I feel like it, and just give you guys my thoughts. So they might come out once in a while, and I hope to be doing more of them. And I always love when you guys tweet at me, and when you guys make yourself, when you guys let me know that you love the podcast. It honestly puts a huge smile on my face. So I really appreciate you guys supporting the podcast the way you do, because it makes me feel very happy, because I have a platform where I can put my thoughts out. I miss that, really. I miss that. So thank you. Thank you to all you guys listeners. Follow me on Twitter at Reinforce. Make sure to go to my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Reinforce. Follow me or something. I don't stream that much because I don't have any time. I have played like 5 hours of Overwatch the past 2 weeks. Unlucky. I want to play more Overwatch. I just want to play more games in general. But work is busy, and work takes priority. That's just how it is. Anyway, I'm signing out. I wish you all a great rest of your week. Have some fun this weekend watching the Dallas Fuel Homestand, and I'll talk to you guys next week. See ya!